Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves in a futuristic battlefield on the distant world of Proxima Centauri b, where you'll be fighting for your species. In this conflict, the cracks in the sky widen and entities from another dimension begin to emerge. Rift Zone Contact is a sci-fi miniatures wargame where you command physical units on the table while a companion app handles combat and game logic in real time. It's for 2 to 8 players, takes 30 minutes or more to play depending on the size of the game you select, and is for ages 14 and up. It's published by Boosted Reality Inc. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works and I'll see you on the other side. This is a crowdfunding preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final. These are prototypes. To see the most up-to-date art and components, check the link in the description of this video. But speaking of these components, I still did want to show you some of these miniatures that are beautifully sculpted. So I'm just going to let this slide by and show you what some of these miniatures look like. And there's actually an individual player aid for each of those miniatures. Where on the back side, it sort of talks a little bit about the backstory and what that miniature is about. And so I've zoomed in here. Feel free to pause and read this just to see, how this verbiage looks. And on the other side, it has all the information about it. The basic cost, the action points, the health, the armor, everything you need to know about it. And again, here's a zoomed in close look at that same miniature, the Space Ranger. Feel free to pause and look around on this. Now, of course, that was just one of the factions, but they have these for the other faction as well. Now, here are the 2 giant miniature trays I have here. Now, this game is run by an app that's going to help facilitate a lot of the calculations and a lot of things that takes time in games that you don't have to worry about. And these trays have QR codes that you'll scan in and add these miniatures to your inventory so you can, do different things with them, draft them. Other players are playing with you, they'll know which miniatures they can get and things like that. And so now I'm going to scan the QR code on this tray, and it is going to then ask me to launch the app, and then it's going to sort of load them into my inventory. And then I can do the same thing with the other tray. And then when I look at my unit inventory and I scroll down, you can actually see all of the miniatures there that have been scanned in. Now, there's 2 different main types of play. There's campaign or skirmish mode. Now, campaigns let you play through the story events, right after the mysterious rift opens. And it basically walks you through setting up and drafting your miniatures. And skirmishes is essentially anywhere from 1 to 8 players. And there's 5 different victory conditions. And you sort of can set up and customize the game the way that you want it to be played. So I'm going to go ahead and start a campaign. I'm going to click campaign. And here it has the different ones. We're going to say contact. And it has a room code. So if I was playing remotely with other players, or if I'm playing in my own spot with other players, but they brought their own miniatures and sets, you give them that code, you can all play together on your own devices as well. Now, if you're playing local, meaning you have one device and many players in the same room, then you can switch to local play, and that allows you to sort of pass and play one device with everyone else. Well, you can also see some other information, like it says 8 units are required. It says view unit list, and you can go there. You can see, there's the 5 and the 3, and close. And then mission list, eliminate the enemy. So it's telling you what's going on, and it tells you a little bit about it. You're a member of the expeditionary squad, kind of tells you a little bit about that. Select a color that represents your units on the battlefield. Select your faction, there you go. And there you go, there's your power, and you can start the game. Okay, so when you start the campaign, it'll actually show you a little bit of a story that you read about it. I'm not going to go over that now. And then it has the armies, and you're going to basically adding units to your army. So you can add units, and it says you have a cost of up to 210 to spend there in the upper right. And so we're going to go ahead and add units. And so here's where you can add the units. It shows the cost, and you can tap them. If you click the little eye, it tells you everything sort of about that unit. You can see, move and evade and the cost and the action points and such on each of these, the health. And that's what you can check these and see which ones you want to do, and you can sort of add them. And as I add them, like that one costs 70, so now you go in the upper right and it shows you that, yeah, I've got that one there. And if I do another one, it's at 140, for example. So this is how you add your units. And after you've done all that, then it will go to the next player. And again, it has a little bit of a story there about it. And they can go ahead and do the same types of things, adding the different units that they want. So they can kind of do different things like that, add things up, and then they can sort of draft and confirm their army. So then it's going to have you set up the battlefield. It has you scan the battlefield just to see what it looks like, and then it has you put an anchor, and you put this in the bottom right-hand part of the map. And then it's going to scan an anchor, and then it's going to, with augmented reality, put the terrain tiles out there for you, showing you where they are and which types they are. And that's where you're actually going to lay the physical tiles on your board. Now, one of the cool things is these terrain tiles, they're 2D, they're just flat. They sit on your table, but you can see the pictures here and the one over there. Now, if we switch to the AR from the app, now you see that view, right? And you have that, but if you come down to the battle level, you can see the actual terrain, which is really cool. And the guidebook shows all about all the different terrains. That is a fungal forest, and it shows you all the stats for each of the different terrains and the different things that happen when you're in those terrains. Like in this one, all units get plus 20 to evasion dice roll, so it's easy to evade, which makes sense thematically, and there's tons of different terrain in the game. Okay, so then it says once you've set up all your units, I got them both set up on each of their spots there, it says select a unit to move and attack. So if I select this one, it actually shows you the unit. It actually shows you where its move range is. And so, yeah, you could say, hey, I'm going to move this one to here. And there he goes. He just moved. And you can undo it. It says undo, and you have a few seconds. If I click undo, it's going to move him back there. So yeah, so now I can kind of take him and move him to where I want. Right here, shows you where you can move him to. And I'm just going to click on him, and there he goes, just like that. So it says action points. I have 3 of 5 left. Now, a cool part of having the app is that it calculates everything for you. So all of the time spent measuring and calculating is done in the app for you. So here's like an attack calculation sample where it knows what it needs to roll to hit, and then it helps with the counterattacks and evading and shields and armor. Like it calculates all of that into it so that you don't have to do that, and it makes you just dive into the gameplay and have fun as opposed to always doing calculations. And so now I'm looking at this and I can see all the different things I can do. Like this nanite projectors, it actually tells me, does all the math for you. So it says I have, a 90% chance, a 96% chance of hitting different things, 94. I can go to a different weapon, like a tail thrust. And so this unit has that ability, tail thrust, that allows it to move further than they normally would be able to by spending an action point. Now, showing a different attack from the other faction with a flamethrower, it shows a 94% accuracy. Then it will show the battle results like proposed damage 53, evaded damage 25%, thermal resistance 40%, final damage 23. Effect applied burning. And speaking of effects, now in addition to all the different terrain types, there's also different types of attack effects, ability effects that can come into play. I'm not going to go over all these, but feel free to pause here to check all these out. Now, you can't move through other units, but some units have a power jump ability, like this, allowing it to jump over another unit, and it shows in green the range it has for that. You can also see that this player has 0 action points remaining, and they can end their turn, and the next player takes their turn. When attacking with this plasma rifle, it then has the defending player select a few options, like evading or counterattacking. Then it will show you the results. In this case, they chose to evade, and it evaded 16% of the damage, but they still took 46 damage. But in this example, attacking with the rifle, the defending Reaper chooses to use the nanonite projectors. And even though they took 97 damage, they were able to counter with those nanonite projectors. Some weapons, like the flamethrower, spray damage to everyone around it, even your own units, and even ended up damaging one of their own units more than the Reaper from the other faction. And if you destroy a unit, you'll see it in the battle results in red. Now earlier I showed you a campaign, and that's great to get started. You can pick your armies, it kind of sets everything up for you. And in skirmish you have a lot more flexibility as to how you set the game up. In this condition, let's see, the victory condition is elimination, but there's lots of different ones. Instead of that, you can have assassination, which is each team picks a unit to be it, and then when that unit is destroyed, that team loses. Or maybe a conquest, where basically each begin with all units in a single tile. That's their flag, so to speak, and is represented in the AR. And the flag is captured when only enemy units are in that tile. You could do King of the Mountain, where an empty tile is selected as the mountain, and the first team to occupy that mountain tile alone for more than 2 rounds wins. Or Gauntlet, it's kind of like Assassination, but their goal is to move that unit to a designated gold tile. You can also change the team type. You can have mixed, which is what it starts with, where players draft from any faction and victory is awarded to the winning team. You can go with faction, which is each team must draft from one faction, but there's a maximum of 2 teams and victory is awarded to the winning team faction. Or team mode, where you can have multiple teams and each player must draft from one faction. Now, another thing about these miniatures are they are smart miniatures, and they're uniquely identified with an RFID tag. And it means that even though they look the same, they aren't. Each one can be named, gain experience, and go up in levels. The more games you play with an individual, the better it gets. Well, there is Rift Zone Contact, and as I showed in the overview, there's many different ways to play with skirmish or campaign modes. You can easily play remotely with others, and even play on the road without traveling with the box of miniatures. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me right in the description of this video. That's going to bring you directly to the crowdfunding project page, and I'm sure that Boosted Reality Inc. would love your support.